Afghanistan. At the crossroads of the Silk Road, it gathered the treasures of the ancient world. An impossibly rich mosaic of cultures left their history written in the ground. But in the last 3 decades, war and terrorism devastated Afghanistan's cultural legacy. Yet in this place, which has endured invaders as fearsome as Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan, the past won't die. Now, 2 men set out on historic quests to rediscover Afghanistan's greatest lost treasures. One, a Russian archaeologist, seeks to prove the existence of one of the ancient world's greatest troves, containing more gold objects than the tomb of King Tut.
Not a single treasure in the world is such a detective story.
The other, an Afghan archaeologist, is on the trail of riches greater than gold, one of the largest statues ever created. This colossus may survive in the rubble where the Taliban destroyed its 2 giant brothers.
I will offer up the 1,000-foot Buddha as a response to the Taliban.
Across Afghanistan, treasures re-emerge into a nation reborn. Each came to light because of the courage of Afghans who risked death to take on extremists threatening their heritage.
We didn't allow our heritage to be destroyed. Why? A country which has no culture has no history.
To build their future, heroic Afghans reclaimed their past, the lost treasures of Afghanistan. With the guns of Afghanistan all but silent for the first time in decades, those with deep roots here can finally come home. Afghan-American Nadia Tarzi heads an association dedicated to preserving Afghan antiquities. She also raises funds to support the work of her father, a world-renowned archaeologist. Nadia grew up in Europe, where she dreamed of this moment, the first time she would ever set foot in Afghanistan, a homeland she's never known.
I've been waiting since I'm 13 to come here. Gul Mamad is this loyal friend of the family for over 40 years. To finally meet him, it's very emotional, because we've been longing to meet each other. I just feel like I'm coming home. I'm finally here, but what's really hard is that I'm late. I missed out on knowing Afghanistan, as beautiful as it was then.
Nadia can't linger in Kabul. Her destination is some 150 miles to the west. There, in the Bamiyan Valley, Nadia's father, Dr. Samaryalai Tarzi, is searching for a treasure of monumental importance for Afghanistan. For the first time, Nadia will take part in one of her father's excavations. The two haven't seen each other in more than a year. But between them lie 10 hours of bad roads and relics of the wars that kept Nadia from coming to Afghanistan until now.
It's far more than what I expected and anticipated. It's more beautiful, it's more powerful. The people are even nicer than I could have imagined. It's a moment I've been waiting for my whole life, I think. That's my dad. Maintenant, je peux venir. Finalement, papa. C'est incroyable, là. J'ai tout regardé, j'ai pris des photos, j'ai pris 350 photos.
The Tarsis reunion takes place in what has been called the world's most beautiful valley, Bamiyan. Here, nestled into the Hindu Kush mountain range, a 3-mile-long cliff dramatically soars 400 feet above the valley floor. It is dominated by the hundreds of Buddhist caves that were occupied by some 5,000 monks in Bamiyan's heyday. As Buddhism spread from India to China, it put down roots here and adorned this valley with monuments of faith. Once, 2 of the world's largest statues of Buddha earned Bamiyan the nickname Valley of the Gods. Then, in March 2001, the serene giants that had watched over Bamiyan for some 1,500 years fell. Blown up by Afghanistan's Taliban government.
I was wearing my slippers in the living room, watching the news. When I saw it, I threw one of my slippers at the television. I didn't want to watch. I screamed. This chapter will always be underlined in the history of Afghanistan. Future generations will know what they did. People need to know that at the beginning of the 21st century, savages came into Afghanistan to destroy its heritage.
Probably better than anyone in the world, Dr. Tarsi knew Bamiyan's giant Buddhas. In the 1970s, he directed their first and only structural restoration. War drove him to France and barred his return, until it was too late to save them.
It was as if a part of me stayed in Bamiyan while I was away. When you are studying an object, whether it be a small object or colossal monument, you consider it to be your personal belonging. It becomes your Buddha, your child, your loved one. So between me, a small and humble professor, and this big Buddha, there was a connection, an osmosis. This feeling was destroyed by the stupidity of man. I thought I'd turn the page on that moment in history, but since then I've fought.
Dr. Tarsi rarely visits the empty niches of the 2 giant Buddhas. But in the face of such profound pain, he didn't retreat. Instead, he hatched an audacious plan. Tarsi knew what the Taliban did not. In the rubble of the 2 destroyed Buddhas, there may be a 3rd giant statue that ancient texts claim is 1,000 feet long. Called the Sleeping Buddha of Bamiyan, it would be one of the largest statues ever created, fully as long as the Eiffel Tower.